ईश्वरः परमः कृष्णः सच्चिदानन्दविग्रहः अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दः सर्वकारणकारणं सहस्रपत्रकमलं गोकुलाख्यं महत्पदं तत्कारणिकारं तद्धाम तदनन्तं संभवम् कर्णिकारं महत्यन्त्रं सत्कोणं व्रजकीलकं षडङ्गपति सत्पदी स्थानं प्रकृत्या पुरुषेण च प्रेमानन्दमहानन्द रसनावस्थितं हि यत् ज्योतिरूपेण मणुना कामबीजेन संगतं तत्किञ्जल्कं तदंशानं तत्पत्राणि श्रियमपि चतुरश्रं तत्परितः श्वेतादिव्याख्यम् अद्भुतं चतुराश्रं चतुर्मूर्तिश्चतुर्धाम चतुष्कृतं चतुर्भिः पुरुषार्थैश्च चतुर्भिः हेतुभिर्वृतं शूलैर्दशाभिरानद्धम् ऊर्ध्वाधो दिग्विदिक्ष्वापि अष्टाभिर्निधिभिर्जुष्टम् अष्टाभिः सिद्धिभिस्तथा मनोरूपैश्च दशाभिर्दिक्पालैः परितो वृतं श्यामैर्गौरैश्च रक्तैश्च शुक्लैश्च पार्षदार्षभिः शोभितं शक्तिभिस्ताभिरद्भुताभिः समान्ततः एवं ज्योतिर्मयो देवः सदानन्दः परात्परा आत्मा रामस्यातस्यास्ति प्रकृत्या न समागमः मायया राममानस्य नावियोगस्तया सह आत्मना रमया रेमे त्यक्ता कालं शीर्षया नियति सा रमा देवी तत्प्रिया तद्वशं तदा तद्लिङ्गं भगवान् शम्भुर्ज्योतिरूपः सनातना या योनि सा पराशक्ति कामबीजं महद्धरे लिङ्गयोनि आत्मिका जाता इमा महेश्वरी प्रजाः शक्तिमान पुरुषः सोऽयं लिङ्गरूपी महेश्वर तस्मिन् अविराभुर्लिङ्गे महाविष्णुर्जगत्पति सहर्षशीर्षः पुरुषः सहस्राष्टः सहस्रपात् सहस्रबाहुर्विश्वात्मा सहस्रांसा सहस्रशुः नारायणं न स भगवान् आपस्तस्मात् सनातनात् आविरासित कारणार्णो निधि संकर्षणात्मकः योगनिद्रं गतस्तस्मिन् सहस्रांशः स्वयं महान् तद्रोम बिलजालेषु बीजं संकर्षणस्य च हैमान्यण्डानि जातानि महाभूतावृतानि तु प्रत्यण्डम् अंडम एवं एकांशाद् विशति स्वयं सहस्रमूर्धा विश्वात्मा महाविष्णु सनातनः वामांगद आश्रजत विष्णुं दक्षिणांगद प्रजापतिं ज्योतिर्लिंगमयं शंभुं कूर्चादेशादवस्रजात् अहंकारात्मकं विश्वं तस्माद् एतद्व्यजायता अथा तैस्त्रिविधिर्वेषैर्लीलम् उद्वहता किल योगनिद्रा भगवती तस्य श्रीरेव संगता शीर्षयां ततो नाभेस्तस्य पद्मां विनिर्ययौ तन्नालं हेमनालीनं ब्रह्मणो लोकम् अद्भुतं तत्त्वानि पूर्वरूढानि कारणानि परस्परं वयाप्रयोगच्च विभिन्नानि पृथक् पृथक् चिशक्त्य साजमनोता भगवान् आदिपुरुषः योजयन् मायया देवो योगनिद्रामकल्पयत् योजयित्वा तु तानि एव प्रविवेश स्वयं गुहां प्रविष्टे तस्मिंस्तु जीवात्मा प्रतिबुध्यते स नित्यो नित्यसम्बन्ध प्रकृतिश्च परैव स एवं सर्वात्मा सम्बन्धं नाभ्यां पद्मां लहरेर्बभूत् तत्र भवाद्भूयश्चतुर्वेदी चतुर्मुखः सञ्जातो भगवात् चाक्षत्या तत्कालं किल चोदिता शीर्षयं मतिं चक्रे पूर्वसंस्कारसंस्कृतः ददर्श केवलं धावन्तं नान्यात् किम् अपि सर्वतः उवाच पुरुतस्तस्मै तस्य दिव्या सरस्वती कामकृष्णाय गोविन्द हे गोपीजन इति अपि वल्लभा प्रिया वाणेर्मन्त्रं ते दास्यति प्रियं तपस्त्वां तप एतेन तव सिद्धिर्भविष्यति अथा तेऽपि ससुचिरं प्रीणं गोविन्दम् अव्ययं श्वेताद्वीपपतिं कृष्णं गोलोकस्थं परात्परं प्रकृत्या गुणरूपिण्या प्रयुपासितं सहस्रदलसम्पन्ने कोटिकिञ्जल्कब्रह्मिते भूमिश्चिन्तामणिस्तत्र कर्णिकारे महासने समासीन चिदानन्दं ज्योतिरूपं सनातनं शब्दब्रह्ममयं वेणु वादयन्तं मुखाम्बुजे विलासिनी गणवृतं स्वयं स्वैरंशैरभिष्टुतम् अथा वेणुनिनादस्य त्रयीमूर्तिमयी गति स्फुरन्ति प्रविवेशासु बुक्खब्जानि स्वयंभुवा गायत्रीं गायतस्तस्मात् अधिगत्य सरोजजः संस्कृतश्चाडिगुणना द्विजिताम् अगमत्ततः त्रया प्रबुद्धो अथ विज्ञात्वा तत्त्वसागरः तुष्ट्वा वेदेशारेण श्रोत्रेणानेन केशवम् चिन्तामणिप्रकरसन्मशकल्पवृक्ष लक्षाव्रतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तं लक्ष्मीसहस्रशतसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि वेणुं क्वनन्तमरविन्ददलायताक्षं बर्हावतं समसिताम्बुदसुन्दराङ्गं कन्दर्पकोटिकमनीयविशेषशोभं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आलोलचन्द्रलसदवनमाल्यवंशी रत्नाङ्गदं प्रणयकेलिकलाविलासं स्वयं श्यामं त्रिभङ्गललितं नियतप्रकाशं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अङ्गानि यस्य सकलेन्द्रियवृत्तिमन्ति पश्यन्ति पान्ति कलयन्ति चिरं जगन्ति आनन्दचिन्मयसदुज्ज्वलविग्रहस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अद्वैतमच्युतमनादि अनन्तरूपम् आद्यां पुराणपुरुषं नवयौवनं च वेदेषु दुर्लभमदुर्लभम् आत्मभक्तौ गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पन्थास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानं सोऽपि अस्ति यत्प्रपत्सिम्ने विचिन्त्य तत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि एकोऽपि असौ रचयितं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्छक्तिरस्ति जगदण्डचयायदन्ता अन्दान्तरसपरमाणुचयान्तरस्थं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यद्भावभावितधियो मनुजस्तथैव सम्प्राप्य रूपमहिमाशनयानभूषा शुक्तिर्यां एव निगमा प्रथितैः स्तुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसा प्रतिभाविताभिस्ताभिर्य एव निजरूपतया कलाभिः गोलोक एव निवसाति अखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि प्रेमाञ्जनचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणास्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठान् नानावतारमकरोद भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्ण स्वयं सम्भवात् परमा पुमां यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्प्रभा प्रभवतो जगदण्डकोटि कोटिष्वशेषवसुधादिविभूतिभिन्नं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूतं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि माया हि यस्य जगदण्डशतानि सूते त्रैगुण्यतद्विषयवेदवितायमाना सत्त्वावलम्बि परसत्वं विशुद्धसत्त्वं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसात्मतया मनसु य प्राणिनां प्रतिफलं स्मरताम् उपेत्य लीला इतेन भुवनानि जयति अजस्रं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि गोलोकनाम्नि निजधाम्नि तले च तस्य देवी महेश हरिधाम सुतेषु तेषु ते प्रभावन्यचया विहिताश्च येन गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि सृष्टिस्थितिप्रलयसाधनशक्तिरेका चायेव यस्य भुवनानि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य च चेष्टयेस गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि क्षीरं यथा दधिविकारविशेषयोगात् संजायते न हि तथा पृथक् अस्ति हेतो यस्सम्भूतामपि तथा समुपैति कार्याद् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि दीपारचिरेव हि दशान्तरम् अभयुपेत्या दीपायते विव्रता हेतु समानधर्मा यस्तादृग् एव हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यः कारणार्णवजला भजति स्म योगा निद्राम् अनन्तजगदण्डसरोमकूप आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परं स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्यैकनिशवसितकालमथावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविलजा जगदण्डनाथ विष्णु महानसिंह यस्य कलाविशेषो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि भास्वान् यथा स्म सकलेषु निजेषु तेज स्वीयं कियात् प्रकटयति अपि तद्वदत्र ब्रह्माय एष जगदण्डविधानकर्ता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यत्पादपल्लवयुगं विनिधाय कुम्भा द्वन्द्वे प्रणामसमये न से गणाधिराज विघ्नान् विहन्तुमलमस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अग्निर्मही गगनम् अम्बुमरुद्दिशाश्च कालस्तथात्ममनसीति जगत्त्रयाणि यस्माद्भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति यं च गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यश्चक्षुरेष सविता सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेष तेज यज्ञानया भ्रमति संभ्रतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। धर्मता पापनिचया श्रुतस्य तपांसि ब्रह्मादिकीटपतङ्गावधयाश्च जीवा यद्दत्तमत्र भवा प्रकटप्रभाव गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्त्वान्द्रगोपम् अथावेन्द्रमहो स्वकर्मा बन्धानरूपफलभाजनम् मातनोति कर्माणि निर्दहति किन्तु च भक्तिभाजं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यं क्रोधकामसहज प्रणयादिभीति वात्सल्यमोह गुरुगौरवसेव्यभावै संचिन्त्य तस्य सदृशं तनुम् आपुरेते गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। श्रिया कान्ता कान्ता परमपुरुषः कल्पतरवो द्रुमा भूमिश्चिन्तामणिगणमयि तोयम् अमृतं कथागानं नाट्यं गमनम् अपि वंशी प्रिया सखी चिदानन्दं ज्योति परम् अपि तद् आस्वाद्यम् अपि च स यत्र क्षीराब्धि श्रवति सुरभैवयश्च सुमहान् निमेषार्धाख्यो वा व्रजति नाही यत्रापि समया भजे श्वेताद्वीपं तमहम् इह गोलोकमिति यं विदन्तस्ते सन्तशिति विरलाचार कतिपये अथो वाच महाविष्णुर्भगवन्तं प्रजापतिं ब्रह्मन् महत्वा विज्ञाने प्रजासर्जे च चिन्मति पञ्चश्लोकीम् इमां विद्यां वत्स दत्तं निबोध मे प्रबुद्धे ज्ञानभक्तिभ्यम् आत्मनि आनन्दचिन्मयी उदेतिन् अनुत्तमा भक्तिर्भगवत्प्रेमलक्षणा प्रमाणस्तद् सद् आचारस्तद् अभ्यासर् निरन्तरं बोधयन् आत्मनात्मानं भक्तिम् अपि उत्तमं लभेत् यस्याश्रयकरं नास्ति याय निर्वर्तिम् अपुण्यात् सा साधयति माम् एव भक्तिं ताम् एव साधयेत्। I don't remember. Dharman anyan parityaja mamekam bhaja vishwasan yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi kurman nirantaram karma loko ayam anuvartate tenaiva karmana dhyayan mam param bhaktim ichchati aham hi vishwasya characharasya bijam pradhanam prakritim pumamsya maya hi tam tejaidam Vibrashi vede videhi tvam atho jaganti Ishvaraha parama Krishna Satchidananda vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva karana karanam Iti Shri Brahma Samhita Sampurnam Hari Om. Translation. I don't want this. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect, the whole of the leaves being the actual abodes of Krishna. The whole of that transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It is a hexagonal figure, the abode of the indwelling, predominated and predominating aspect of the Absolute. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of self-luminous Krishna stands as the transcendental source of all potencies. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with sixfold divisions. The whole of that eternal realm, Gokula, is the hexagonal abode of Krishna. Its petals are the abodes of gopis who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are the garden-like dham, that is, spiritual abode of Sri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangle place named Shweta-deep surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Shweta-deep is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudev, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Anuruddha are separately located in each of these 4 parts. These 4 divided abodes are enveloped by the fourfold human requirements such as piety, wealth, passion and liberation, as also by the 4 Vedas, that is Rig, Sham, Yajur and Atharva, which deal with the mantra and which are the base of achievements of the fourfold mundane requirements. 10 tridents are fixed in the 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with the 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda and Nila. There are 10 protectors like Dikpalas of the 10 directions in the form of mantras, the associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red and white, and the extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Vimala, etc. shine on all sides. Next. The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. Still, her connection is not entirely cut off from the absolute truth. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastime in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency Rama, by casting his glance at the deluding energy in the shape of sending his time energy, is an auxiliary activity. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Rama Devi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swamsha. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. This masculine symbol is the subjective portion of divinity who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject to supreme regulatrix Niyati. The concealing potency in regard to mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord, Maheshwara, of this mundane world are of the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The person embodying the material causal principle, that is the great Lord of this mundane world, Maheshwara, Shambhu, in the form of the male generating organ, is joined to his female consort, the limited energy, Maya, as the efficient causal principle. The Lord of the world, Vishnu, is manifest in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glance. The Lord of the mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands of heads, eyes, hands, etc. He is the source of thousands of avatars in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands of individual souls. The same Mahavishnu is spoken of by the name of Narayan in this mundane world. From that eternal person that has sprung the vast expanse of water of the spiritual casual ocean. The subjective portion of Shankarshana, who abides in Paravyoma, the above supreme Purusha with thousands of subjective portions, reposes in the state of divine sleep, Yog Nidra, in the waters of the spiritual casual ocean. The spiritual seeds of Sankarshana existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu are born as so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered with 5 great elements. The same Mahavishnu entered into each universe as his own separate subjective portions. The divine portions that entered into each universe are possessed of his majestic extension. That is, they are the eternal universal soul, Mahavishnu, possessing thousands of heads. The same Mahavishnu created Vishnu from his left limb, Brahma, the first progenitor of beings, from his right limb, and from the space between his 2 eyebrows, Shambhu, the divine masculine manifested halo. The function of Shambhu in relation to Jivas is that this universe, enshrining the mundane egotistic principle, has originated from Shambhu. Thereupon the same great personal Godhead, assuming the threefold forms of Vishnu, Prajapati and Shambhu, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastimes of preservation, creation and destruction of this world. This pastime is contained in the mundane world. Hence it being perverted. The Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with goddess Yognidra, the constituent of his own spiritual chit potency, full of the ecstatic trance of eternal bliss, appearing to his own divine personality. When Vishnu, lying in the ocean of milk, wills to create this universe, a golden lotus springs from his navel pit. The golden lotus with this stem is the abode of Brahma, representing Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Before their conglomeration, the primary elements in their nation state remained originally separate entities. Non-application of the conglomerating process is the cause of their separate existence. Divine Mahavishnu, primal Godhead, through association with his own spiritual chit potency, moved Maya, and by the application of the conglomerating principle, created those different entities in their state of cooperation. And after that, he himself consorted with Yog Nidra by way of his eternal dalliance with his spiritual chit potency. By conglomerating all those separate entities, he manifested the innumerable mundane universes, and he himself entered into the innermost recess of every extended conglomerate Virat Vigraha. At that time, those jivas who had lain dormant during the cataclysm were awakened. The same jiva is eternal and is for eternity and without a beginning, joined to the Supreme Lord by the tie of an eternal kinship. He is transcendental spiritual potency. The divine lotus which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu is in every way related by the spiritual tie with all souls and is the origin of four-faced Brahma versed in the four Vedas. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions. But he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. Then the goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all directions, O Brahma, this mantra, that is Klim Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, Vallabhaya, Swaha, will assuredly fulfill your heart's desire. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, then all your desires will be fulfilled. Brahma, being desirous of satisfying Govinda, practiced the cultural acts of Krishna in Goloka, Lord of Svetadipa, for a long time. His meditation ran thus. There exists a divine lotus of 1,000 petals, augmented by millions of filaments in the transcendental land of Goloka. On its wall there exists a great divine throne on which is seated Sri Krishna, the form of the eternal effulgence of transcendental bliss, playing on his divine flute, resonant with the divine sound, with his lotus mouth. He is worshipped by his amorous milkmaids with their respective subjective portions and extensions, and also by his external energy, who stays outside, embodying all mundane qualities. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, being made manifest, that is imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered into the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself through his 8 ear holes. The lotus-born Brahma, having received the Gayatri sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of the twice-born, having been initiated by the supreme primal perceptor Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of the Gayatri embodying the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose 2 hands are adorned with the flute and jewel ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire for the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayams by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra Shukta told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Loka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidant Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamasundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their hearts of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Ram, Narsimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman, mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of glory of the mundane universe, appears as the indivisible, infinite, limitless truth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is the absolute, substantive principle, being the ultimate entity in the form of the support of all existence, whose external potency embodies the threefold mundane qualities, that is sattva, rajas, and tamas, and diffuses the Vedic knowledge regarding the mundane world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose glory ever triumphantly dominates the mundane world by the activity of his own pastimes, being reflected in the mind of recollecting souls as the transcendental entity of ever blissful cognitive rasa. Lowest of all is located Devi Dham, mundane world. Next above is Mahesh Dham, abode of Mahesha. Above Mahesh Dham is placed Hari Dham, abode of Hari, and above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the rulers of those graded realms. The external potency Maya, who is the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither same as nor different from its cause, that is milk. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them. It is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with the all-accommodating potency, and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, Yog Nidra. Brahma and other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of the hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one exhalation of the latter, Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of portion. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, receives its power for the regulation of the mundane world. Just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names of Surya, Kanta, etc. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesha upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds. The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements, that is fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of the universal cataclysm. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey mounting the wheel of time. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained the manifested potencies that are found to exist of all virtues, all vices, the Vedas, the penances, and all jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insect. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities. Of all those who walk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him upon the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fear, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain to bodily forms befitting the nature of their contemplation. I worship that transcendental seat known as Shweta Deep, where as loving consorts the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is a purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gate is a dance, the flute is the favorite attendant, effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. On hearing these hymns containing the essence of the truth, the Supreme Lord Krishna said to Brahma, Brahma, if you experience the inclination to create offspring by being endowed with the real knowledge of the glory of Godhead, listen, my beloved, from me to this science set forth in the following 5 shlokas. When the pure spiritual experience is excited by means of cognition and service, bhakti, super excellent unalloyed devotion characterized by love for Godhead is awakened towards Krishna, the beloved of all souls. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. These preliminary practices of devotion, sadhana bhakti, are conducive to the realization of loving devotion. Loving devotion, than whom there is no superior well-being, who goes hand in hand with the attainment of the exclusive state of the supreme bliss, which can lead to myself. Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of the supreme service. Listen, O Vidhi, I am the seed, that is the fundamental principle of this world of animate and inanimate objects. I am Pradhan, the substance of matter. I am Prakriti, material cause. And I am Purusha, efficient cause. This fiery energy that belongs specially to the Brahman, that inheres in you, has also been conferred by me. It is by bearing this fiery energy that you regulate this phenomenal world of animate and inanimate objects.
Okay, so I'm gonna sing Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Valnachari Yamuna Tira Valnachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya, oh wait, never mind. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Saturday morning lecture program. We just had Brahma Samhita recitation and Jai Radha Madhav. So we'll go on to the lecture now. Let's start with some Mangalachan prayers. Om Agyan Timirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadkamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakan Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Siddhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Namo Mahavadanyaye Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaye Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurtavishe Nama. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivadi Paschate Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So with that act, we finished our Mangalacharna prayers, and obviously you surrender like you did with raising your hands. And it's very critical that we surrender, because if we don't, then we think that we are doing things, and when we do things, then we get back our own results. Not all of them are which are good. So after having surrendered, let's go on to the verse for today. So this is the verse that I have chosen. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 44. So I will recite it first, and then we can all recite it. Itham bhavin katito Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha Nitam bhavin hi param Drashtum arhanti surya. Can you get a mic? So, yeah, can you recite? So I'll do once more. Itham bhavin kathito Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha Nitam bhavin hi param Drashtum aranti surya.
Itham bhavena kathito Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha Nitam bhavena hi param Drashtum arhanti surya.
You want to recite?
Itam bhavena katito Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha Nitam bhavena hi param Drashtum arhanti surya.
That's good. Prabhu.
Itam bhavena katito Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha Netam bhavena hi param Drashtum arhanti surya.
Surya, yes. Prabhu, you want to recite? Give it a try. This Kali Yuga, and God pardons all mistakes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here now. So,
Itam bhavena katito Bhagavan Bhagavatamaha Nityam bhavena hi param
Drashtum
Arthani
Surya.
Surya.
All right, let's go into the word by word meaning for these. You can recite after me. Itam, in these features, bhavena, the matter of creation and destruction, kathita, described, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Bhagavat Tamaha, by the great transcendentalists, na, not, itham, in this, bhavena, features, he, only, param, most glorious, drashtum, to see, arhanti, deserve, surya, great devotees. So let's go into translation. So the great transcendentalists thus describe the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features. So very critical things over here to note. From the very scratch, if you look at things, how we move on from the karmic life into spirituality, one is transcendentalist is a very important term. So I'd like to explain the word transcendentalist.
Transcendentalist is somebody. Transcendentalist is someone who is trying to realize Brahman. Brahman is in ancient Vedic India, Brahman means God.
Thank you. Okay, very good you mentioned Brahman. We'll go into Brahman more. Yeah, that's right. Someone's trying to, but specifically the word transcendentalist, the literal terms, comes from one who transcends something. That's why transcendentalist. And what do you transcend? Transcend when you go across. So what is it that you have to go across? If you notice in this material world, there are many things that keeps us, but you find one critical thing, and we'll go into this in the lecture, is time. So one who transcends time, because time is a big killer in the material world. And if you transcend time, that means something that exists basically in spirituality. It's something that transcends time. So that's why we call them transcendentalists. Second thing to note over here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Isn't God enough? And then you have to have a head on the God, and then there's a personality of God, and then there's a Supreme Personality of God. A very important term. We know we take it very casually, but this is one of the basic reasons why we have Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, God word was good enough in itself, right? But because God likes many forms, many varieties, and that is this very special thing that Krishna consciousness tries to bring around. So Supreme Personality of Godhead is a term that is one that is used very often. Along with God is also very used, but that's what we are trying to go at. Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's very special term. And if in future someone tries to do a PhD on what Prabhupada ji wrote, right, his jargons and his words, this word would stand out as the word that he created and subjected the entire world to. It's a big thing. All right. And then the third thing to note over here is something about, but the pure devotees deserve to see more, which looks like what has been happening so far is also related to God, but maybe they're not that pure devotees. So that's one aspect. And to see more glorious things in transcendence. So it looks like in the transcendence, which is representative of the spiritual aspects of things, there is something that is more glorious and lesser glorious. And this degree of variation of gloriousness is very critical. And this thing is something that keeps coming back as you talk about Krishna consciousness. There are many, 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 many levels, many, many things to discover. It's not just one God or just one Brahman aspect that transcendentalists outside Krishna consciousness talk about. All right, so without taking more time, let's go into the purport. Do you want to read the purport? Yeah, switch on.
The Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestations of his different energies. He is more than a simple creator and destroyer, for there is his feature of Ananda and his pleasure feature. This pleasure feature of the Lord is understood by the pure devotees only and not by others. The impersonalist is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This is called Brahman realization. Greater than the impersonalist is the mystic who sees the Lord situated in his heart as Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. But there are pure devotees who take part in the direct pleasure, Ananda, potency of the Lord by factual reciprocation of loving service. The Lord in his abode, called the Vaikunta planets, which are eternal manifestations, always remains with his associates and enjoys transcendental loving service by his pure devotees in different transcendental humors. The pure devotees of the Lord thus undergo a practice of that devotional service to the Lord during the manifestation of the creation and take full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. The Bhagavad Gita confirms, Bhaktyamam
Janati yavanyaschasmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tat anantaram. So we'll stop here. So if you notice in this, thank you. So if you notice over here, a couple of things stand out. One thing is that what was left as a suspense over here, that the pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things, is answered by Prabhupada Ji in his purport, saying it is the Ananda feature. Okay, so we'll delve more into this. But something even more critical is the aspect where he says that the impersonalist is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This term is one of the most important terms that Prabhupada Ji is trying to tell the world, because we tend to take things as a binary. Either I am just working in the world, or I'm trying to go into spirituality, and I do it step by step, and that's about it. But people don't realize that when you do go into spirituality, there is something called impersonalism and personalism, and there are many, many levels and things beyond that. So that's very critical that Prabhupada Ji is trying to express that. So let's go a little bit more into the impersonalist and the personalist aspect. But he does talk about his Brahman realization and Paramatma realization. So what are these Brahman realization and Paramatma realization? Are they different? And then what happens to the Anand potency part? Right, so if I can get to the bottom. All right. So here's a very pertinent slide that I created. We talked about it, but I think it's good to visualize this. So let's take a story of 3 students who are with their guru, and they're trying to see a train, and they're at the railway station, and the first student doesn't have that much patience, the last one has most patience and probably most conviction. So the first student sees the train from a distance, it's night time, and he sees the light, and he knows on the track only the train runs, so he's very confident that the train's coming and I will be able to see, I've seen the train. So at that point of time, the student leaves the guru, and he's very confident. Is it working? Hare Krishna. Okay. The student leaves the platform and is very confident that he's seen the train. Well, the second student actually has much more patience, waits for the train to come, and actually sees what is the object behind the light that was there. So yeah, he sees the version of God that we say is the Paramatma realization. And the third thing is the third student had the most patience and most conviction, and he waited at the very end, and he saw the train driver come out. So what this means is that each of these are representative of the 3 forms of God. The first one is called the Brahman realization. The second is called the Paramatma, and the third was the Bhagavan. And this is an aspect that has come out open in the world because of Prabhupada's initiative. Otherwise, people will be very happy with the word Brahman, because Brahman is the most often used word in our scriptures coming from ancient India. And words are used interchangeably, putatively, because there have been many authors, or the same authors written over many periods of time. But no, that was not the only reason. There's something else that goes beyond it. And the reason is that it actually represents different aspects. So Brahman realization basically means the undivided part of God that is existing everywhere. So it is very, very critical. It's the one example that we can take is a sun. If someone sees the sun's energy and the sun's rays coming out, you can practically say the sun's coming here, right? That's what we talk about when we say sun's coming through the window. But is the sun really coming through the window? Well, the sun is still where it is, right? So the sun's ray also represents sun. The sun object, the globe, also is sun. But there's a sun god that comes from our Vedic studies, that there's a person behind it who's running the show, just like there's a truck. The car won't drive on its own, there's a driver behind it. So all of these three things are different realizations of the sun. Similarly for God, three forms of God. And it's very, very critical because Brahman is a subject that is dealt with a lot in Upanishads. The word Brahman is mentioned all over, but explicitly dealt with there. And Paramatma is an aspect of God that is something that yogis go into when they look at their heart, and it's dealt with in the initial parts of Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. But Bhagavad is exclusively something that is the copyright of Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, Bhagavan is all over. Bhagavan is the superset, it covers all over. So very, very critical. Okay, so now that we discussed that, let's go back to the part over here. And but before going there, just one quick thing. So if you look in the second chapter, second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about various things like first step in God relation, the Lord in the heart, the pure devotional service, the process of creation. And towards the end, it is talking about answers by citing the Lord's version. So in this part, what the author is trying to talk about is the Chatur Shlokas, the 4 shlokas that were granted to Lord Brahma, from which the entire Bhagavatam came out. And in the 10th chapter, where Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, is where primarily before this verse, the discussion has been more around God is the creator and the preserver and destroyer, right? And if you go out in open outside ISKCON, people talk a lot about, oh, my Lord Shiva is great, and my Lord Brahma is great, and Lord Vishnu is great, but Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. And all of these misconceptions and semi-conceptions pervade this entire universe, and everyone talks based on what they see and what they understand. But what's critical is this particular verse, before we went into this verse, a lot of creation, destruction and maintenance was a bit carried over. Let's see. For example, these are the 2 verses before this verse. He, the personality of Godhead, as the maintainer of all in the universe, right? So he's talking about the maintainer part. And thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord himself, the form of Ruddha, the destroyer. So far, creation, destruction, and maintenance is discussed. And certainly you see an upsurge over here saying the pure devotee deserves to see something more glorious. So this verse stands out actually. And we talked about the Brahman part. So, okay, all right. So let's deal with some of the verses that talk about the Brahman. So one is, this obviously I kind of try to bring out in every lecture, is a very key verse. It talks about how Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, all of these words are actually representative of God, but there's a different form, and that's the part that we mentioned in our previous slide, right? So this verse is very, very critical, and this is something that should be our baseline when we go and launch ourselves into Bhagavatam. Then this particular verse from Brahma Samhita that we read, do you want to read the first line?
I can read. Nobody wants to read.
No, sure.
Are you sure nobody wants to read?
No, sure. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Is this started?
Yeah.
Yasya prabhavato jagadanda koti
Yeah.
kotish asvesha vasudad vibhuti bhinnam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we're very critical over here. Look at the meaning for the word yes, Prabha. It says of whom the effulgence. So this is a term that really describes, like for the sun's rays, this is the effulgence that comes from God. So philosophically, if you look at things, we are only concerned about the spiritual world and the material world, and I want to get out of this world and I have so many anxieties and stress. But from God's point of view, there are many, many levels that are needed just from in this world to get out. And once you reach the spiritual world, there are many, many, many levels over there. And someone who doesn't really want or has an envy or maybe some problem in their heart with respect to recognizing God as a person, they're still allowed to get out of this world in terms of getting out of anxieties. And this is the effulgence that covers them. So this Yes Prabha is very critical because it talks about the effulgence of God, which is the Brahman. So people invariably when they read Upanishad, it talks a lot about what Brahman does and what Brahman can do and what is represented, it represents, and they don't understand it really is the effulgence. So there is something else behind it too. There's a battery that charges that toy that is called Brahman. So, okay, so this is one. And another part over here was this Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam. So if you look at the word by word meaning for this one, that Brahman Nishkalam, without parts, unlimited, being complete. Okay, so this is what people talk about when they say they have got Brahman realization. If you look, especially at impersonalists, you'll not find so much in Vaishnavism, but people who think that they've reached the goal and they have reached Brahman realization, they talked about, I'm immersed in bliss and I don't see myself any different than God. And to some extent they're right, because they do experience kind of God-like aspect where they think that they are part of the unlimited aspect. So that is very representative of Brahman. What they forget is that Hare Krishna. So you can see I'm successfully caged. Now I have nowhere to run around, right? If my Kundalini ever rises, it will get stuck in this, right? So, and hopefully Krishna will take it away. So anyway, this is a very important aspect about Brahman, that is without parts, is unlimited. Okay, so second thing, that another verse we can see over here. So in the prayers of Kunti in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that Lord is covered by the curtain of Yogamaya, and thus ordinary people cannot understand him. This Yogamaya curtain is also confirmed in the Ishopanishad, Mantra 15. Hiranmaya Patren Satya Syapetam Mukham Tattvam Pushan Apavranu Satya Dharmaya Daste. So, O my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe, and devotional service to you is the highest religious principle. Therefore, I pray that you will also maintain me. Your transcendental form is covered by the Yogamaya. The Brahma Jyotir is the covering of the internal potency. Very, very critical lines over here. And people who don't understand this just get stuck on the Brahma Jyoti part. May you kindly remove this glowing effulgence that impedes my seeing your Sachidanand Vigraha. So this is the sweet part that was discussed in that particular verse, where there is something behind the Brahma Jyoti, which is the Sachidanand Vigraha part. And actually the Brahma part actually goes into the Sat part, but the Chid and Anand part, which are represented the Paramatma and the Bhagavan part, are not there. And Vigraha is actually a form. It's not Sachidananda impersonal lagaha. It's not like that. The Vigraha part is there, right? So eternal form of bliss and knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form of bliss and knowledge is covered by the internal potency, the Brahma Jyoti, and the less intelligent impersonalists cannot see the Supreme on this account. So here, Prabhupada is also giving them a label saying you're less intelligent if you're an impersonalist. Right, so this was the Brahman part and the other verses. So this was coming from 725. Alright, so now let's go on to the Bhagavan part. Right, so we discuss Bhagavan. So firstly, how do you define God? God is so magnanimous that it will require a God to define God. It's impossible to really be able to nail him down. But from our rudimentary, from the small little particles that we are, let's try to define him with one simple thing. The way we see things is this the cause of everything? So there's a very good verse that talks about he is the original seed. So Bijam Mam Sarvbhutanam. Sarvbhuta means all, Sar means all, Bhuta all people in this Bhuta world. Bijam is seed. So I am the seed. O son of Pratha, know that I am the original seed of all existence. So very critical verse that talks about it. So is this really version of God? Well, I don't know, because they also say in the scientific world that sun is the origin of, in fact I read a book the other day called The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, where they say everything in this world is coming from sun because the sun's energy that is getting transformed into anything. There's a concept about current energy coming from sun and the old latent energy like oil, right? Sun comes into vegetation and then vegetation goes down, it gets compressed by earth into sedimentary rocks, and then ultimately there's over there metamorphosis happens and they convert themselves into oil. So sun is supposed to be one of the beasts. So just by this definition we cannot say that we've got to God, but it looks like this could be one qualifying definition. So let's delve a little more and see. Into Brahma Samhita verse number 48. So in this verse, if you look at this line, and I think we just read out this verse, Vishnur Mahansa hi yas kala vishesho. So what is this saying? If you look into the word by meaning, Vishnu Mahan, the Supreme Lord Mahavishnu, that here, yes, kala vishesho, particular plenary portion or expansion. So it looks like Mahavishnu, and actually let's look at Mahavishnu. It's a good time to look at Mahavishnu, I think. So this is what Mahavishnu looks like. He's lying down and resting. And if you look at it, it said, I mean, in the scientific world, we have this theory about Big Bang, right? And everything came from a compacted piece of mass, which was 2.6 kilometers wide, very, very dense, and about 13 point some billion years back, right? So the concept actually is not that bad. Science is getting towards reality, but this is what really happened, coming from the Vedic world, the truth. About 155 trillion years back, Mahavishnu started exhaling. And when he starts exhaling, then from the pores of his skin, all of these universes start coming out. And then they go out, kind of like Big Bang. And then when he starts inhaling, then they start going back in. So I think this whole cycle takes about 311 trillion years or something. And from Big Bang perspective, I think they're talking about billions. So it's not that off, although of course billions and trillions are different, but it's not like 10 years or 100 years or quadrillion years. I mean, and I think we will get to it. Eventually science will probably get to somewhere near these aspects. But the concept about universes coming out and then expanding, it's like a balloon expanding. Each part on that surface of the balloon is going further away from each other. So this is what Mahavishnu is looking like. So if we go back to that verse that we're talking about, it's talking about that Mahavishnu is a plenary portion or expansion. So with previous verse we talked about the seed, right? So it looks like Mahavishnu could be called that entity from which everything is coming out. So then is he really God? Let's forget the technicality. So far he qualifies to be God, right? But it's mentioned over here, he is the particular plenary portion expansion. So who is the expansion of? So let's figure that out. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, 8th verse, it says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhav samanvita. So look at the translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. So so far we saw Mahavishnu giving out all these universes and material universes, right? So looks like this verse that it is talking about the source is beyond Mahavishnu, because this also talks about spiritual and material worlds. And he says that everything emanates from me. So whoever this source is potentially the one that is the giving birth to Mahavishnu, because this entity is the source for all spiritual and material worlds, whereas Mahavishnu was only for material worlds, right? So let's go beyond that. Thank you, Prabhu. So looks like my voice was not reaching Goloka, and Krishna sent his emissary over here. Thank you, Prabhu. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 7, it's mentioned, Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, of course, there is no truth superior to me, right? So everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So this is very good verse, but this part is very critical. There is no truth superior to me. In other words, if Krishna is the one who is giving origin to Mahavishnu, then beyond him there's nothing else, right? Because we could be saying, okay, I'm going a step-by-step path and I've only reached Krishna, but maybe there's something beyond Krishna, right? Maybe there's a different variegated form of Brahman or something. So no, that's not true, right? So you got to that. And then obviously I wanted to get to this, but I wanted to get to it in a step-by-step fashion. The very first verse from Brahma Samhita, it says, Ishvara Parma Krishna Sachidanand Vigraha. So he is that Sachidanand Vigraha. Anadiradi Govinda Sarv Karana Karana. So he's also saying, I am Sarv Karana Karana, means I am the cause of all causes. So that clarifies things. And Anadiradi Govinda. What does Anadiradi mean? He is without a beginning. That means there is nothing beyond him. And he is the origin for everything. So conclusively determined that Krishna is the right person, but we reached him step by step, because if we just went through this particular verse, there would always be some challenges saying, yeah, right, but in Shiv Puran it says that Krishna went to Lord Shiva to learn something, and therefore he could be the origin for the knowledge that Krishna got. So there's always things, but if we go step by step fashion, first we ourselves are convinced, and that's how we can convince others people. It's very critical we are able to convince ourselves, because if we are not, then we talk to other people, then we'll not be able to do due diligence. And why it's so important to convince other people as well? Because that's what we do in ISKCON. We have to do spirituality for ourselves, but we are not Bhajarandis who sit in a corner and do yoga, which is what most of the yogis do, right? They go to Himalaya, sit in a cave, or the Karma yogis or whatever. Karma yogis do interact with people, but most of the yogis try to sit in a corner. But over here we are saying, no, don't sit in a corner, go out and spread the mission. This is coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Alright, and then once we determine that Krishna is that God, one very important thing to note coming from our scriptures is, alright, Jiva Ishvara Tattva Kabhu Nahi Sama. So what happens that, fine, Krishna is the God, but what happens if I am also part of Krishna and if I am Krishna too, right? So there can be a challenge back over there. So what this meaning is saying is, a living entity and the absolute personality of Godhead are never to be considered equal. Just as a fragmental spark can never be considered the original flame. So in other words, the living entity, the spark, is not Krishna. Krishna is Krishna and you're a spark, and that's what it is. So there we clarified the situation of opposition of all the Jivatmas and Krishna, right? All right, I think we delve into the Bhagavan feature. Hare Krishna. Can you please note this down? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's turned on. Okay. Hare Krishna. So you can see Prabhuji came thrice to fix my mic. First time my voice was reaching Brahman. Then Krishna sent some emissary, now it's reached Paramatma. And this time, I'm very confident it will reach Bhagavan. But even if it reaches there, I don't know if he sends me back, because sometimes they do these leelas and people come back. But hopefully if I come back, I'll go back again. So, right, so we were talking about Bhagavan, other aspects. So now we established the three parts, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. We also talked about that he is some Ananda feature, but we don't know what that is. But the more important thing is, so what? So if Krishna has Ananda and there's Ananda around him, what is in there for me? You know, when someone talks in the material world and someone comes and starts talking to you, the first thing, because we are very focused and we are selfish, or at least I am selfish, the first thing I think for is, what's in there for me? Why is he come? I mean, are you wasting my time or are you giving me something? So far, whatever we talked about, yeah, Krishna is great, so what? Why are we talking about it? So I need to get something back from him, right? So it looks like Krishna exists in a special world, and how do we enter that world is what we need to find out, right? So let's try to find that out. So this series is called Entering Goloka. So first thing is, if you want to reach out to someone, right, you need to try to understand them, because if you don't understand them, then you could be reaching out to someone wrong, right? So far we established God is the cause of all causes, right? But who the kind of people who can really understand? If I qualify to be in that group, then I have a chance, right? If I don't qualify, if I don't appear in SAT, they won't take me into Stanford, right? So 55th verse in chapter number 18 Bhagavad Gita says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yas chasmi tattvata. So the meaning for that is, one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. In other words, if I am trying to qualify to understand Supreme Personality of Godhead, I need to be doing devotional service. What is devotional service? In common jargon coming from India, it's called Bhakti Yoga. And then there are many subgradations to that. But it's not Karma Yoga, it's not Jnana Yoga, it's not Dhyana Yoga. They are leading to it, but we need to get on to devotional service. If you don't get on to devotional service, you don't understand Krishna as he is. You understand him as the light coming from him, the Brahma Jyoti and things like that. If you are successful after many, many, many births. So one thing understand. Okay, fine. So then, just because people who do devotional service can potentially understand him, does that mean other people can understand him? Because I've heard that God is very generous and is very kind. So yeah, maybe he'll give his blessings to other kind of people. So here's what Krishna will qualify, saying in chapter 7, Bhagavad Gita, 25th verse, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrata. So the meaning for that is, I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. So in brief, we have only two options. We can say I'm foolish and unintelligent, people's choice, or they can say I'm intelligent and I will do devotional service. There is no other option. So if people think in the material world that they are very intelligent, no, sorry. If they are intelligent, that they must be doing devotional service. If they are not doing devotional service, they are foolish, and Krishna will never manifest for them. Okay, and so how does this work out, and what is the sustenance model? You know, when you go out to Silicon Valley and you tell them, here's my model and can you invest into me, here's how will I make money. So they'll first thing ask you, fine, are you making money now? Well, not really, but you know what, I'm kind of surviving. The next thing they'll ask is, how do you know that you'll keep surviving tomorrow? Because you take money from me today, but you run away with it or whatever. So you give him some confidence. So you have to give them some kind of sustenance model. So here's the sustenance model that is coming from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, 59th verse. Right? So the key words over here, I don't want to take the entire verse for example, is Param Dashtva Nivartate. What does it mean? It says that by Param, let's look at the word by meaning, far superior things by experiencing he ceases from. So in other words, when you're trying going towards Bhakti Yoga, you cannot lead a life, normal life. I mean, Krishna is an entity, I am an entity, a lot of devotees are an entity, the temple is an entity for all practical purposes. It takes care of me by providing my food for my tummy on Sunday, and it's prasad, that's obviously better, but things like that. So they're all entities and we're interacting with each other, right? So, but we also do that same thing in our normal karmi life. So what is it that will pull me towards so-called spirituality in Bhakti Yoga? So this verse will tell you that says, the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, but the taste for sense enjoyment remains. So either they are already taking sense enjoyment from the karmi world, or they may try to stop it through that secluded yoga. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he's fixed in consciousness. So our sustenance model comes by fact that we are experiencing a higher taste. If I'm going to get a better return on my investments in life, on my time through Bhakti Yoga, then I won't have an urge to go and do things in the karmi world. There's a transition phase, but as this transition happens, start experiencing a higher taste, right? The reciprocation happens with Krishna and those kind of things happen. So this is the sustenance model. This is what will ensure that people will actually stay here. So one thing is how to get higher taste. So it's mentioned, there are many ways many aspects about that. But one key thing that is mentioned is enthusiasm. So one needs enthusiasm, not theoretically, but it has to be practical. And very good words are mentioned over here. So we'll go into that. It says, and Prabhupada is using them, saying, the armchair theory will not help you. I don't know if you've heard of this term. This is the first time I've heard of this term. Prabhupada is mentioning, you must be practical and there must be enthusiasm. then it will be successful. You are sitting in the same position and you're thinking you are making progress, that will fail. So what is this armchair philosophy? Let's look at that. Right. So this is how Google pulls up the definition for that. It says armchair philosophy is amateur philosophy that arises from casual discussions. The discussions need not occur among people in actual armchairs, though that's quite common. So that's why there's a term called couch potato, right? Both in the karmi world as well as in the spiritual world, if you sit on a sofa or a couch potato, then you've had it. It's also called, the sofa is called representative of mode of ignorance. So watch out. And I've tried it actually. Whenever I do japa, in my loft, there is a sofa there, one piece. And I try not to sit on it. I try moving around, but my body is saying, let's sit. And then I say, let me try sitting there. And every time I sit on it, I start yawning, and then I sometimes go off to sleep. And my japa carry over my sushupti and all of those things. And then when I wake up back, I'm back into whatever I remember. And then I decide, I am not going to sit on the sofa. And then what happens next time? I'm doing my japa again. So, and then I see the sofa, it looks so enticing. I say, fine, let me try this time. I am probably grown up in my spirituality. This time I will be able to conquer the mode of ignorance. But so far, every time mode of ignorance has been successful beyond me. So far is something to watch out. Anyway, so this is a very good term Prabhupada uses, armchair philosophy. Good to know. So he's saying be practical, just don't start guessing things and doing things, right? So what happens when people sit on an armchair and do philosophizing, right? When they don't go out and do be bhajanandis, ghostanandis, just be bhajanandis. When do you sit on an armchair? When you're doing chanting, if you're in spirituality, of course. Otherwise you're ruminating or thinking about things, right? So thing to watch out over here is that people, when they sit in one place, then we are covered by Maya. And how is it covered by Maya? It uses our intelligence and mind as an instrument. And then what happens? You can read all of these verses, and then the mind starts throwing out fine, and then this and that, and then it starts slowly going into the karmi world. So something to watch out, that we start going to speculation. So this is a very good verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter number 14, 29. And here is a good phrase that is being used over here. Chiram Vichinvan. What does it mean? For a long period speculating. So the sofa will pull you and make you speculate for a long time, till Paramatma wakes you up and says, that's it, enough, now wake up and do something, at least go and get your bread. So a term to remember as we become more pedantic, I think is inevitable. I like to talk about a concept over here. So now a lot of people, when they get into spirituality, they start noting all of these verses, start trying to learn them, and what happens is that we go a little into learning out the verse aspect without going into what's really behind it. So these are two very common terms that are used to represent this aspect. One's called Shastragrahi. Grahi means one who absorbs, one who takes, right? One who portrays. So Shastragrahi is one who is having the Shastra knowledge, right? And then there's something called Sargrahi. Sargrahi means one who actually gets the essence. So we need to get the essence. And before I go further, I would like to ask, so what is the essence for Krishna consciousness? Do you like to have any reflections on that one? I mean, what is the basic, the underlying fact? Underlying fact of the, Krishna has so many layers, but when you're trying to do something Krishna consciousness, try mic, please. It's not on.
I did.
Yes, Prabhu.
Utility is the principle and teaching is the essence.
Well,
Preaching is the essence.
Utility is the principle, teaching is the essence. That's a good essence statement. But what happens when you're preaching and then something goes wrong? That the person you're trying to preach to shuts you up. Then what happens? Then it becomes a little difficult. So you have to have maybe something more underlying. Do you want to try? Maybe I can give you a hint. So, they say there's these 5 basic things to make progress in spirituality. But there's something they say that, what are the 2 basic rules?
I heard in one of the lectures by Visheshika Prabhu that Krishna gives 20-fold path of knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. Out of that, the first 2 items are pridelessness and humility.
That's very important. Yeah, humility is very important, because without that you can't make progress. The point is, you don't control humility, right? So you try for it, but it comes, right? It's an after effect. So what can you do from your side as an action that will give you those two? So I think they are called the basic rules in Krishna. Prabhu, you want to try?
Always remember Krishna and never forget.
Yes, Prabhu. So that from very true. Thank you, Prabhu. So you can see Pandit is here with us. So thank you. Yeah, but these are the basic rules that you have to remember, right? So don't speculate. And then what do? We always, every time you have to go back, because books, teachers, gurus, friends, devotees, temple, all this environment can only help you so much. At some point of time, you'll be left alone and you have to rely on your own mind intelligence and false ego to get out of problems. So what is the basis when you're trying to come up with some kind of solution in those environment? So the answer is that you always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. If you use that as the basis of your action at that point of time, invariably it will always lead you to the correct results. So thank you, Prabhu. So yeah, don't speculate, right? So we talked so far about three aspects from that verse. One is that we talked about the Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan and the difference between them. And if you don't understand that, then you're doing consciousness, you're not doing Krishna consciousness. So point number one. Second thing is we talked about how to enter into the kingdom of God, right? Do not speculate, and then do bhakti, and then it's not manifest for foolish and intelligent people. So that's the second thing. Now let's get into the aspect that that verse was actually talking about, saying, what is it? So let's go back to that verse. Right, so go back to that verse, and we can say thank you to all people who joined online. We can turn that side to the mic. Hare Krishna. So people who joined late, we were discussing this verse, Canto 2, Chapter 10, verse number 44, that talks about the fact that pure devotees deserve to see more glorious things in transcendence. And so far we found out, Prabhupada told in his purport that it is the Ananda feature. So we know Krishna has been, so far we established that Krishna is that person behind everything, and he's represented by this aspect called Satchidanand, and Anand is the part that pure devotees get, and if you're not that pure, then you get stuck at Sat or Chit or somewhere else. And if you're not even a devotee, then you don't even get the Sat, then you get Asat, which is this world. Right? So let's go a little more into the Ananda part. Right. So in the Ananda part, let's start with something very, very core coming from our Vedic texts, right? So we know that Vedavyas, when he created these texts, he wrote the Vedas and the Upanishads. He also wrote many other books, but basically the core thing, which is the formulas for it, is called Vedanta Sutra, right? And so let's go into a Vedanta Sutra. So I didn't find one in Vedabase, so I went outside. So I apologize for that, going outside Vedabase. But this is in Hindi, Devanagari, yeah, Sanskrit. And the words are Anandmayo Abhasat, right? Anando. Oh. No, do is not there. Yeah, Abhyasat, right? Anandamayo Abhyasat. So this is the Vedic Sutra called 1112. And what it is saying is, one is by nature Anandamay. So that verse was talking about the Anand feature of God. Let's start with the basics. Where does this Anand feature come from? Why do we even need to go to Anand feature? So one is that we ourselves as Jivatmas also have an Ananda aspect for us. And one is by nature Anandamay. We are searching after Anand, bliss. And we know where to, but we do not know where to get this bliss. So that is why that verse is saying, if you are a pure devotee and you already have that inherent in you, then you will be able to go through that, the Ananda feature of God, and get that Anand. So we are trying to get this from the material world, and obviously the material world, whatever Anand we get, is not transcendental. It is transient, right? So that's a very key thing over there. All right, so let's go into next part over here. So this is a very good verse in the Padma Purana. It says, Ramante Yogino Anante. So the mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth, right? And this term is used very often by Prabhupada, Ramante Yogino. Ramante means getting involved, delving into yogis unlimitedly, right? Satyanande Chidatmani. So, and then there's one more verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.551, where it is mentioned, Brahma Sakyam Tev Anantam. So it is the Brahma Sukh, Anantam, unlimitedly, that one is looking for. And one might ask, well, we were talking about the Anand feature of Krishna, why did we suddenly jump into Brahma's feature, right? Brahma Sakyam. So, one of the aspects to note is that while Brahman does represent that Brahman form, Brahman is also used at many places, and Brahma Sakya also represents the Sukha that one gets by getting in touch with God. Yeah, it is Anantam. Okay, so let's go on to one more verse that talks about a little about Anandam. And we know this verse, right? It's a very famous verse. Yeah, this is Sistastakam. Yes, you're right. Chetodar Pramardam. So over here, the words that are key over here is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. Yeah, so what does it mean? It says Anand of bliss, Ambudhi, the ocean, Vardhanam, increasing. So one thing very characteristic about an Anand that is coming from a spiritual aspect, and Anand that comes from material aspect, when I won a lottery or I get promoted and I got a bonus, the aspect is that it obviously goes down. It starts from an uptick when I got that Anand, and it continuously goes down as I delve into it. Whereas in the spiritual world, Anand keeps increasing. So very key word over here saying the Vardhanam, right? It never decreases. So in fact, if you bet on it, you get a lot more interest than your principal. Okay. Another aspect about Anand, coming from Brahma Samhita 537, Anand Chinamaya Ras Pratibhavitabhis. This is again representative of the Anand aspect. So Anand and Chit might consisting of the mellows that are derived from it, right? Spiritual rasas. So when you get Anand, Anand could be like an electrical conductor, right? And you plug things in and then electricity starts flowing. But how does it manifest? So there are mellows or the rasas through which this manifests itself. It's not like a random Anand saying, my Anand is different. You know what? I'm really getting Anand. There's a Prabhupada lecture where this woman comes from one of the Ananda Margis or something, and she's trying to argue with Prabhupada saying, oh, you know what? I get Anand too. And she's saying, no, your Anand is there, fine, you realize God, but it's not that Anand. So what is the right format in which you understand that Anand is coming? There's a rasa involved with that. And there are certain specific types of rasas, and if you get into advanced Krishna consciousness, which I am not into, but I have a little bit about it, then there are specific rasas that are there. So if your Anand is not coming in those mellows, then it is probably a mental concoction, right? What was those words that we used? For mental concoction, yeah. Yes, speculating, right? Which in one, yes, you're right. Right? Chiram which in one. Okay, so we talked about this Anand aspect. And another Brahma Samhita verse, 532, talks about Ananda Chinmaya Sadvajvala Vigrasya. So what is the Anand part that he's talking about over here? Let's search for the word Anand here. Yeah, there you go. So Anand, bliss, Chit, truth, Maya, full of such substantiality, Ujjwal, full of dazzling splendor, Vigrasya, whose form? So Krishna's form is full of dazzling splendor and is full of substantiality. What does substantiality mean? Of ample or considerable amount. In other words, we could talk about getting something from Krishna. I am the richest person on this city. Come and meet me. I'll make you rich. Fine, you'll be very happy. You come and I make you rich. And I also tell you, by the way, I'll only make you rich for 1 second. Now give me all the money back. So no, it's not talking about that. It's saying Krishna is full of it and is in substantial amount. So it is there for all eternity. So once again, the Satchitananda, but over here, the meaning that Prabhupada has drawn is that it is in ample amount. So if I and my wife both go and try to get that the Anand. Krishna has enough to give me and my wife and everyone all around the world. In other words, there is no reason to say, which we talk a lot, I've seen that coming from India. People naturally like to sacrifice and then say, let him go ahead, I can always do it later on. In fact, I was at another organization before coming to ISKCON, and people who do very serious Brahman-based spirituality were there. And when I would talk to them, because I was trying to read up on ISKCON, and say, why are you doing this and what about this aspect? Aren't you worried about not getting to the moksha or whatever? And they said, no, there's always the next time. I mean, I'm trying to progress, I'm part of the good organization, I have a good guru, etc., etc. But they're very sacrificing. So sacrifice is not needed, don't do it. So in this case, sacrifice is not needed. Krishna has enough ananda to take care of everyone and himself and all around. And people already been into a spiritual world. All right, so at this point of time, I'd like to stop and ask for reflections if you have any. Just recap, Ananda feature, anything that you'd like to talk about Ananda feature, anyone over here? Or the Brahman or the Paramatma realization part, or how to get into the kingdom of God. Those are three aspects that we discussed so far.
I just want to give one reflection.
Sure, mic to your mouth, bro.
We are pleasure-seeking entities. We want to experience pleasure in everything. Whatever we do, we want to experience pleasure. Unfortunately, whatever we do in this material world doesn't give you pleasure. And the pleasure we get is very, very little. So, in my experience, I have found that if you want to experience pleasure, the only way is to go towards Krishna. And if you seek happiness in Krishna consciousness, depends upon your realization and depends upon your practice and it depends upon your sincerity. There are several things even in Krishna consciousness. But you will get some pleasure. You will get pleasure, not some pleasure. You will get infinite pleasure based on your level. So in the association of devotees, the chanting, the prasad, and going to dhams. So these are all things which one can do in Krishna consciousness to engage oneself, to engage themselves in Krishna consciousness, to experience pleasure. But in material world, there is no pleasure. It is just misery at the end. Misery while you are working like a dog, you are working like an ass, and there is misery there. People try to make money, they're thinking they will be happy by making money, but that money will come and go. And when the money is gone, you are miserable. You are making money. In the process of making money, you are working and you are miserable. And then once you got the money, and then it goes.
So true, Prabhu. Very, very well
and
mentioned.
then people are really, for years and years they will try and make money. And the money goes in some way or the other, and there is misery. So you put so much misery in accumulating wealth, and at the end, the money is gone,
and again misery.
And again the misery starts.
Yeah, very, very good point, Prabhu. Yes.
So then the jiva is by nature, pleasure seeking, anandamayo abhyasat.
Yes.
So every moment he is seeking pleasure in some form or the other. So, but if one turns to Krishna and one takes, in devotional service, he can experience that bliss and happiness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives assurance. Anandhambudhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamruta swadanam param vijayate Sri Krishna sankirtanam. That bliss is increasing. It's an ocean of bliss. It's not just a river of bliss or a lake of bliss. It's talking about ocean of bliss. Only by taking to Krishna consciousness, one can attain that ocean of bliss. And it is ever increasing. Even when you say ocean, it has a limitation. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying there is no limitation. There is no limitation in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, that's a very lovely point actually. And if you look at it, if you try to argue with a karmi, for a person from material world, if you tell him this thing, they don't understand that because everyone is getting some pleasure or other from whatever they are doing. Otherwise, they won't keep doing it, right? It's very difficult to argue with them saying that, no, they'll say, I'm also getting pleasure. I go to work, I'm able to define new things, I'm an architect, I create new things, I get my money and I'm taking care of my family and I go to vacation with them. So that's also pleasure. How do you argue with them? I think one way to see things is, amongst the points that you mentioned is, firstly, there is a pleasure-seeking tendency. So good point. And why is that? The reason is we are called Purusha. And that is what it's called, Krishna is called Supreme Purusha of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Purusha is called because Purusha means one who is seeking pleasure. So that's one part. The second part is, have you heard of the story where there's this small frog inside a well, right? And he's the owner of the entire well, right? He jumps around, and then this frog who comes from the ocean and tells him, there is great ananda there. And he said, whoa, what can you do there? And he says, you can jump from here to there. And he did this big ocean, big waves coming. He said, waves? Is it like this? And he puts his hand into the well and the water starts going up and down. So is it like this? No, he said, no, it's bigger. What? And then he says, you can jump from anywhere to all over. And the other frog says from the well, is it like jumping from, and he jumps from one end of the well to the other. Is it as big as this? So the point is, it's very difficult to explain to people. So unless they're the domain and range, we have a mathematical function, these terms are used. But unless we increase our capacity to view things, people are myopic. And this is the beauty of Krishna's Maya, that it keeps us happy in whatever we can view. So a mother is very happy with the kid that is taking care of. And the dad also got that same baby, but he's working in the office. And then he's saying, wow, this kid is keep troubling me all night and I'm not able to do work. And then he's thinking about his work from place and saying, oh, I must do this new thing and that new thing. I should expand out into South America with my new product that is there. So everyone has their own view and they're tending to keep happy. The good part is that this part from Maya is also controlled by Krishna. So when we start expanding the horizons of what we think should be our domain, that well, if we increase the well size to a river size, then Krishna allows, through Maya, to actually experience that level of bliss and ananda, whatever so-called material ananda. But once we cross that boundaries and start reaching the ocean part, then Krishna allows that too. So very generous of Krishna to allow that. Thank you, Prabhu, for mentioning that. Yes, if we want to go to that ocean of bliss, it is possible. So I don't know if my sister is watching this. Today she's in US, but I want to take her example, talk about it. So I come from Allahabad, and Allahabad is relatively a smaller town, and she did her software, whatever she studied there. And I remember the day when she got married very young, and her husband got a job for 10,000 rupees in Allahabad at one of the software teaching institutes. And they were very happy because 10,000 rupees per month was a good amount of money that time. So most people earn like 2,000-3,000, about 20-25 years back, something like that. And then I remember they moved to Delhi, and then my brother-in-law got a much better job, maybe paying about 10 times that or something, 5-8 times that or something. And I apologize if I'm leaking out the figures, but what I'm talking about is they're very happy there because they're earning 5-8 times. They were away from family a little bit, and they thought, okay, I can compromise and go back. And then from Delhi, they moved to Hyderabad into a really good company. It's a multinational, #1 company in the world, and they settled in India. And now they're happy still. And each of these places, they were happy. But it's now, if I ask them, can you go back to Delhi or Allahabad, I'm pretty confident they won't agree. But it's only in respect when you compare things that you figure out that the happiness in the material world in Allahabad was relatively less happy. So it's all relative. And it's Krishna's beauty that he's trying to give us happiness in whatever we want to contain ourselves in. So in brief, put a pin into this balloon that we call our shell and let us go out and expand ourselves like Brahman all over and then get into the Paramatma Chit. But in Krishna consciousness, you don't have to go through these steps. Just go directly for it. Go for Krishna. Go for Anand. Right? And this will be, substantiality will be there. It will be there for eternity. So it won't even go down. So yes, Prabhu, that is also another good point that you mentioned. It keeps going down. Alright, so we mentioned about the Ananda aspect. Hare Krishna. So yeah, this is where my lecture was supposed to actually begin. So I was just drawing out from whatever purport Prabhuji gave. But I think we'll run short of time. So maybe we won't get to it. So few reflections that I got captured. And some of these, actually a lot of them are from Bhakti Charu Maharaj's lecture on this same verse. I didn't find any other one, so I took his. And Prabhupada actually also doesn't have, it's not actually uploaded. So thank him for that. What he mentions over here in this thing is, he's talking about that this chapters we're talking about preserver, creator and destroyer. And we all know who owns, right? The three Devyas, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, right? And it talks about the creator and destroyer. So they are called Guna avatars. So a lot of people in India might also actually call out saying, my Vishnu is great, my Shiva is great, but they don't understand that all of them are basically Guna avatars, right? They are from a higher source. That's one. But the mode of goodness is retained by Vishnu, right? So who creates and how he creates? Lord Brahma is creating them, things, right? So an example, analogy is taken about the king going to a prison, right? So we are really this material world where we think we are having a great life is called a prison. And king sometimes visits the prison, but just because the king visits the prisons, it doesn't mean that the king becomes a citizen of or an inhabitant of that prison. So there's one aspect. And why would the king go to the prison? Sometimes just to check the well-being of how things are, or probably to get some prisoners out, right? Or if there's a rebellion, then also he comes, right? So Praitarai sadhunam vinashacha dushkratam. Right? So if there are some miscreants, they're causing problem, then also he comes to make sure. Right? So we know this verse, so we won't go into that, right? The thing to note over here is dushkratam. So sometimes he comes, a lot of time he actually comes to take care of all the miscreants. Right, and then the very first verse of Chatur Shloka was, in the previous verse was Aham evasam evagre. So he's saying that I existed only before creation, right? God is saying. So one question is, what does God do before, when the creation is not there, right? When the universe says all these things are not created by Mahavishnu. What is God really doing? Is he inert? What does he do? Anyone like to take a shot at the answer? Yog Nidra? Oh, yeah, Yog Nidra. But Yog Nidra means he's lying inert, right? Is he inert that time? And that's Yog Nidra for Mahavishnu, right? When he's there. What is Krishna doing? Actually, very right, yeah. Sorry, that was Mike, but you're saying he's playing with the cowherd boys, right? Yeah, he's right, actually. So yes, in his spirituality, there is no inertness. There is actually a lot of activity. And Krishna is playing with his flute and he's enjoying. So a very peculiar aspect about Krishna is his leelas, right? And that is going on 24/7. It's actually mentioned that when the Ras dance that happened on the night, right? Krishna actually expanded. He's the master, he can do anything. That one night, the one material night, into one whole, was that the night of Brahma? Yeah, so he could expand that, right? So in other words, our returns investing into Krishna's bank, LLC, is really going to be great. So let's invest into that. Okay, one other thing is, in ecstasy, when people have ecstasy, do they sleep? What people do normally when they're ecstatic? Do they lie down and ponder? Do they get very active? What does typically happen?
They dance.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, they get very dynamic. Very good answer. So, how do you define dance? I got one definition. When joy of heart wants to give the expression through the body, right? So, in the spiritual sky, and let's go into this, they say that every movement is a dance, and every word is a song. And this is very important because when I read Bhagavad Gita, the first time I read it, so the first time I read Bhagavad Gita, right, I could understand that Gita is called Song of God and that's the literal meaning. And these people, Krishna and Arjuna, they keep talking with each other in songs. And how could they actually talk like that? Maybe someone's got to create this poem. It's very difficult to understand that when people are that elevated and they use Sanskrit, they're so pronounced that they don't talk like us we do in material world. Come here, do this. Like they actually sing. And it's possible for them because their minds are so... what can I say? So they're so advanced, right? So let's get a proof for that actually. Is this recognizable? You sang this? Shriya Kanta Kanta, right? So over here, I think I'm looking for the part where, yeah, there you go. Katha. No, I'm going to get to the verse that explains that every word is a song and every movement is a dance, right? Katha, Ganam, Natyam, Gamanam, Api. Right? So it says over here, if you look at it, where is it? Yeah. Every talking is a song and every walking is a dance. Right? So it really is very phenomenal. It is the ocean. And the ocean is not just bigger well. It has much more variety. It's not that I am a maid coop, a frog inside a well, and if I go to ocean which is 10,000 times my well, I am going to get 10,000 times my ananda. No, it's not even that. You get infinite times, because it doesn't only increase quantitatively, it also increases qualitatively. So it's infinite times better. So everything is very enjoyable over there. And pretty obvious question, I think we went through the verse, but would a devotee be interested in just creation, destruction, and maintenance? That's a nice feature of God, but I think that people would want to go beyond that, right? And we saw that there is many loving exchanges, right? But these only happen when you have a deeper relationship with the Lord. So we know that we have presence over here in our city, right? But how many of us ever talk or even think about presence, right? I mean, it's not part of our daily life, presence, right? But when the president or some great person is actually visiting the prison, then we suddenly become interested in that news. So it's not the prison per se that is of interest, it is the head visiting it. Similarly, when Krishna visits this world really becomes very pronounced. For us, because we're stuck in this world, whenever he visits and when we are not, we are bound to delve into those aspects. But people who are spiritualists only like it when they want to get out. So when Krishna visits, it really becomes very important to them. Okay, and I wanted to share one story. We are running short of time as usual. So, you know the story from Chaitanya Charitamrita, witness Sakshi Gopal, where two Brahmins, they went to Vrindavan, and the junior Brahmin actually took care of the senior Brahmin, and when the senior Brahmin was very happy, his elder, and he promised his daughter in marriage to the junior Brahmin, and when they came back, there was a lot of social pressure, and the senior Brahmin was not able to keep up his promise. But luckily they took witness as Gopal over there in Vrindavan. So the younger Brahmin went back. And when he went back, he asked saying, Krishna, Gopal, can you come and be my witness? And Gopal is telling him, you go back to your village, don't worry about it, and I will manifest somehow. So I'll take care of it. But he said, no, you need to come, because once you come, that they will be really confident that things are happening.
Gopal said, I don't go, deities don't go. Then the young Brahmin said that if you can talk, then you can also go, you can also walk. Okay. And then he was defeated, Gopal was defeated by his with the young Brahmin's answer, and then he went with the Brahmin. He said, I'll follow you. On one condition. Yeah, on one condition, that you don't have to look back. And if you look back, then I'll stop there.
Yes. It's a very good point actually. If you look at that, I think I was just trying to get to that part in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think it's 595 or something. Yeah, there you go. See? I've never heard of a deity walking from one place to another. So this person, Junior Brahma, saying, only if you go there in this form of Gopala and speak the words from your beautiful face, will your testimony be heard by all the people. And actually, I half believe that because he's a true devotee, he also wanted him to come, right? And these are loving exchanges, right? It's not just that the young Brahmin wanted to marry. Otherwise, it would just look like, he just has a material aspect. Once he gets married, he can forget Gopal, and then in the next life, I can take care of Gopal. No. So they're beautiful exchanges. And you're right, I've never heard of deity walking, right? So if you look at the meaning for this one, it's very interesting.
So the point that I could think about, with this example, it can be... for us, it was an example for us to understand that deity is not a deity. They are a person just like us, and they can communicate. So we have to treat them as a person.
It's very, very
not
important.
Not as any sculpture or statue made of wood, marble or anything else.
Yeah,
so this is a very important thing that came to me.
It's a very important distinction, because people think that in traditional Hinduism or ancient Vedic culture, people are doing idolatry, right? I mean, we're worshipping idol, right? But it's not that. Yes, it is idol, but it's a live idol. Why don't you understand? It just doesn't move like that, like I move throughout the day. But it is very active, and there are many good reciprocations and exchanges that happen between devotees. And you don't even have to be a very elevated devotee. It actually starts happening once you become serious about Bhakti Yoga and go through a proper organization like ISKCON or Gaudiya Math or some other place, and then go through a proper disciplic succession.
Not only ISKCON, it all depends on the Paramara system and the bona fide spiritual master. It all depends on the bona fide spiritual masters.
True. Right, yeah. So there are some minimum criteria, but in ISKCON we provide all of them. So I think this is the verse that I wanted to show you about that story. When he says, Pratima nahi tumi sakshat Vrajendra Nandan. So you are actually real person, Vrajendra Nandan, right? Sakshat means one who we can witness, one we can actually experience, Sakshat. So basically, well, we're getting close to the end of our. So one thing is that we talked about so many aspects. Now the point is, I have a long life. I'm a person who works in this material world. Why should I even try to go into this? So one very critical thing to understand is that this is a very unique opportunity to do Krishna conscious. And if we miss this out, then we miss this out. I think I tried to stress in my previous lecture as well. But why is this a unique opportunity, and why is this a lottery time? The answer is that it is not possible on earth to be able to do Krishna consciousness. It's only available for a very short time. Otherwise, you have to go through step-by-step process to go Brahman and Paramatma, or go to Paramatma directly, but you cannot go beyond that. And this time occurs only once in 4 billion years, once in the day of Brahma, once in 1000 Kali Yugas. And we happen to be born in that particular Kali Yuga where it is possible to do this. It's called the golden age of Kali Yuga, and that is the reason we see ISKCON and we see Krishna conscious all over. That's the reason we also see a lot of other spirituality to support this, but eventually Krishna conscious is the best thing possible to do. So go for it. There's no reason not to do that. So who wants to take advantage of this opportunity? All right, raise both your hands. And then we can chant Hare Krishna, right? If you want to commit ourselves. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by doing that, we have signed, when you sign a document, like you sign the form to say, I'm trying to apply for citizenship in America, or I'm trying to be a nice student, or I'm hereby signing my deed. So this is by signing to say, Krishna, I want your Ananda feature, the one that pure devotees get. Please help me do that. So at this point, there's some more things, but I think it's good to stop. We have 5-6 more minutes. And I think it's good time, if anyone has any question, we can talk about them, any other reflection. Or otherwise, we can probably chant a little bit, because there's no better thing in this yoga to do other than chanting God's name. So anyone would like to ask or say something? Otherwise, we can go into chanting. 5 more minutes. Yes, Prabhu.
One question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So by chance, like if you go to reach Goloka Vrindavan, so there also we have any work, or like how it will be like?
Sorry, your question is, if we go to Goloka, what is the question? Do we have?
Any any work will be there, like.
Oh, work.
Yes.
Yeah, there's always work.
What is our duties like? What is our duties there?
Yeah, so that's the beauty about actually Vaishnavism, right? We don't have to graduate and go out of this world or out of our mode to be able to say, now I'm enter into the spiritual world. Actually, yesterday I was reading this, and it's very, very, it actually came from not just Achinta Bhedabhed that came from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even if you go back to Ramanujacharya, right, where he's talking about qualified monism, even there he says that it is possible to reach a spiritual status just on this earth itself. So in other words, when you're doing Bhakti Yoga, the transformation happens very subtly, you will actually experience it. But you're already in the spiritual realm at some point of time by just doing the duties that you're doing. For example, if someone is trying to make a garland for the Radha Madan Mohan, then they will graduate into making garlands for Radha Madan Mohan or Krishna in Goloka. So you're already doing that activity. So in brief, coming back to your answer, when that Jivatma, who is qualified by doing regular process and reaching that elevated status where they deserves to go back to Goloka or she deserves to go back to Goloka, they could potentially be making that garland over there and serving Krishna. So in other words, there is no distinction between material world and spiritual world for a pure devotee, because for him, like they say, Uttamadhikari, let's see God all around. So a true Krishna devotee also not just sees God all around, they also see God's activities all around. And they get the God's ananda all around. So they're already living into the spiritual world. So yes, there will be activities, there's a lot of activity, a lot of work to do, but you don't have to earn your bread. And that's the basic difference. Got any other question?
So
Prabhu, closer to you.
If you want to do any duties, like we need some body, right? So in Vrindavan also we have any kind of body will be there.
Yes, Prabhu, there is a body. So the body, as I told you, right? When you reach towards Brahman realization, there are already many body layers that we have. All these are material body layers, the one that Mahavishnu helps promote, right, through the universe. So you have to unpeel them like the onion peels, and then you get to the core, the Atma, and then these are, and then after we realize that I am not body, I am soul, then the second, that is consciousness, right, aspect. Then there is the Krishna conscious aspect that says that what is the duty of this soul? The duty is that Jivara Swapua Krishna Nitya Das, right? So I am the eternal servant of God, and that's where the activity begins. Yes, you're right. So once an activity begins, it will need some kind of a body. So a body does come up. It is called the Siddha Deha, right? Siddha, right? This is the perfect body, and that comes up from the spiritual aspect. It's very actually peculiar that for us to get that body, we are in Maya over here, and there's Maya there too. So there's both places the Maya. The Maya over here is called the Mahamaya. The Maya over there is called the Yoga Maya, right? And between the two, when you're graduating, for people who don't get the Ananda part of God, the one who doesn't get into reciprocal relationship, when they are into Brahman realization or even Paramatma realization, and then they reach Vaikuntha, there's no Maya there. So there, people are in their natural state. Like for example, Brahman realization, people just exist as Atmas or particles suspended in the air. That's a good way to understand. It's inconceivable really, a better example than that. But the Maya part comes as Yoga Maya, where that body actually is there, and then it uses the body, covers up Krishna part as a God, and that's where the reciprocal relationships can happen. Otherwise, people who are already liberated already understand that here's Krishna and he's God. So how can the sweet relationships happen? There will be relationships, there will be reciprocal exchanges, but it will not be sweet. It will be more of admiration, it will be more of respect. So body is there, is called Siddha, the part that comes it. It is provided. Yeah,
with that body thing,
sure.
It's a spiritual body, it's
Yes.
not a material body.
It's not a material body.
So because when you say body, it deteriorates. In this material world, the body deteriorates.
Yes.
That means the physical form disintegrates. But when you are realized, when you attain liberation through Krishna consciousness, you get a spiritual body. And through spiritual body, in Goloka Vrindavan, you interact with Krishna. You perform pastimes, but that is eternal. That body is eternal. It is not temporary. So once you get the body, it is there. It is eternal, spiritual form,
Yeah, that's
not
why
material form.
Yeah,
When we talk about material form, there is disintegration. So this body is made up of, material elements. That body is not made up of material elements.
Yeah, very good point, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, you can call it a spiritual body. And actually, it is called Vraja, right? That place where Krishna stays. And what does the technical word mean? It says Vraja means to move. That is the meaning for the word Vraja. So everything is very dynamic there. We talked about that aspect. But there's very good comparison between time in the spiritual world and the material world, right? So in the spiritual world, everything moves. And the only thing that doesn't move is time. So time is stationary. And in the material world, everything is basically inert. All the material elements are basically inert in nature. And it's time that is causing. Time is an aspect of Krishna from the material world. It's making it move with the soul, with the individual jivatmas, right? Everything moves as a result. So it's time that is causing things to move, and time is going on and on, right? And its times are stationary. We always have good times and you want it to persist, but it never happens, right? But in the spiritual world, once you realize your original state, and it stays, and that's why time doesn't move, and everything else is moving around. Even the trees move over there. So it's a little inconceivable, but yes, you will have a body, I'll have a body if we ever reach there, and then we'll be able to do activities based on that. Sure. Yeah, but you have a question. You're almost at the close of the answer. Sorry.
So if we're at a certain stage and we're not as advanced, is that something like a lack of free will or a lack of something, or is it just the stage that you're at, just continue to remember Krishna consciousness, and then it, like the Ananda and the devotion and things just naturally progress? Like, is it?
So I think the answer to that is a full lecture in itself.
Yeah.
But if you want a one-liner answer, Bhagavad Gita ends with surrender, right? So there are things that we can do, and there are things that happen as a result. Even in the material, right? Cause effect, right? So even when you rise up in spirituality, we can only do so much, right? Because at the end of the day, if you realize as neophyte, at least for me, when I am doing things, I think I'm doing it using my body and mind intelligence. And Krishna says someplace, ultimately at some point of time when people realize that they're souls, the body is actually carrying out its function on its own. So in other words, whatever I did so far was actually asat, was false, right? So yes, it is a matter of time and things will graduate. So the one-liner answer to your question is, don't stop. You've got onto the right process, keep moving, and things will devolve on its own. Don't lose heart and patience, because we tend to keep going, viewing life from one life, 50, 80, 100 years, and we are eternal, soul is eternal, and from million, billion, trillion years, it's a very small time. So if you don't lose heart and if you keep going, then progress will continuously happen. Krishna consciousness is very, very dynamic, but you still have to not forget that it's a very big time horizon that we're looking at. So yes, it's just a matter of time. You're in the right path, you're in the right place, in the right moment, everything will happen. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We can stop here. I think we already run over time, so apologize for that. Thank you, and we'll have Guru Puja now. Okay. So stop there. Vanchakalpatru Bascha Kapasiddhu Bhevcha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna.
Vijay Damodar Prabhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. समस्त भक्तगण की जय।